for freedom.
I couldn't be more excited about the advent of the Tea Party movement, because the left can create a crowd, at the drop of a hat, but conservatives, distilled down to their essence, are individualists. And individuals like to go about their daily lives and like to raise their families and tend to keep to themselves and don't think of themselves as a collective. The Tea Party movement is a manifestation of conservatives who have been pushed too hard for too long, who have been called the worst possible names in the book, and the American people have finally said enough. And I think that the Tea Party movement is the beginning of a much larger movement of civic participation from people who have otherwise gone about their business day in and day out and avoided the political process.
So I've been a little amused over the last couple of days where people have been having these rallies about taxes. You would think they would be saying thank you.
And conservative people generally don't amass like this, but I think we feel so threatened right now, and our country is under such attack right now, that it's causing this to happen. People are coming out.
I'm here because I want the government back to the people. I'm tired of the people in Washington thinking that we work for them. They work for us.
I just hope that we could get back to following the Constitution. As simple as that sounds, government has a primary responsibility to protect our life, our liberty, and our property, and really nothing else. And now we've made government in charge of trying to provide all sorts of things at other taxpayers' expense, and I don't think it can be sustained.
I'm very optimistic about America's future because I believe that within our framing, there are some fundamental truths that will always come to the forefront. I believe in traditional values, and I believe in limited role of government. And what's happening now with all of the discussions over should we be a socialistic state, people are starting to reassess the role of government.
And so I hope that individuals who are out there now who might be kind of watching from the sideline, who are wondering and looking for a great future, understand that they need to get engaged. Because as the government continues to overspend, as we continue to overregulate, we are taking their choices away from them. And that's going to be a very sad day if they don't have the same kind of opportunities I had, or my parents had, or my grandparents had for their kids and their kids.
What I would have to say to my generation is that we have a lot of work to do. And the people who have come before us, the great patriots, back when our country was first being founded, they literally shed blood and they died for this country. We have a lot to be thankful for, but we have a lot of work to do.
To spend money today and expect our children and our grandchildren and our grandchildren's children to pay for this enormous spending binge that's going on in Washington right now. I mean, my goodness, no great nation passes its costs on to their children and grandchildren. We want to hand over to our children a better country, not an indebted country that's bankrupt.
There was a cover story in Newsweek magazine. The cover story was, "We are all socialists now." Where the heck we are. We are a freedom-loving people. We've known that there's been that tension between the bigness of the state and individual liberty. And we're seeing that played out right now in America. And those who want to have prosperity must understand prosperity comes when free men and free women and free markets create wealth and create opportunity.
So I would encourage people never to get distressed. I would encourage them never to be dispirited or despair or become disconsolate. You have to make your voice heard. It does still work. The government is still your servant, and the only thing that can stop it from remaining your servant is your silence.
We keep coming back because we are a resilient country, in part because we have an amazingly simple yet workable government that functions with checks and balances so that you don't put too much power in one branch over the other, and you always maintain that the people are ultimately in charge and still have the power to yank the chain. What Americans need to do is yank the chain and do it real quick and real hard.
This country has to get back to a fundamental belief that our liberty comes from God, and therefore we have an obligation to God to be good citizens. And we have to recognize that a free country requires free people who stand on their own 2 feet, have a good work ethic, take care of each other when necessary, come together as a community when necessary. But in the end, it's up to us as individual Americans to come together to create a better America. It's not up to the government to try to impose on us the government's version of a better America. And I think it's very important to recognize that the very base of our liberty is that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Nobody can take them away from us. We're the only country in the world that says your personal sovereignty comes from God, and then you loan power to the state. Which means, in the end, every American's always morally responsible for the future of America. You can't give that away. You can't turn it to Obama. You can't give it to the next Republican. In the end, 305 million people each have a moral responsibility to God to help this country remain the freest in the world.
America stands at a crossroad. It all comes down to this. Do we really want to grow government, or do we want to grow ourselves into the people that God created us to be? Remember, it's your money they're spending.
Recognizing the equality of all men and women, we're willing and able to lift the weak, cradle those who hurt, and nurture the bonds that tie us together as a nation, one nation under God. Finally, every promise, every opportunity is still golden in this land. And through that golden door, our children can walk into tomorrow with the knowledge that no one can be denied the promise that is America. Her heart is full, her door is still golden, her future bright. She has arms big enough to comfort and strong enough to support. For the strength in her arms is the strength of her people. In this springtime of hope, some lights seem eternal. America's is. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless you.